Well, we quoted Al Pacino post Game 3. Tonight, it's only fitting to quote Russell Crowe in The Gladiator. Are you not entertained? And what an entertaining hockey game it was. We saw 6 goals in the final regulation period of this series, and it is the Colorado Avalanche advancing to the Stanley Cup final, courtesy of Arturi Lehkonen. 79 seconds into overtime as he sends Colorado Gene into the Stanley Cup final for the first time in 2 decades.
I booked and unbooked cabs, hotels, flights in that last period. I'm like, am I going? I'm going. I'm not going. I'm going. I didn't know what to do. I was a bit concerned, Cam. Colorado, when you get them that close, you're thinking, if you're Jared Bednar, here's what I would have written in the room. I would have 1 goal, Stanley Cup final. And that summarizes the season and what's ahead of you. And I think at that point, when they had battled back from a couple of what seemed to be insurmountable leads, it was pretty tough to stop a team as good and as motivated and as focused as Colorado, despite Edmonton's best efforts.
Yeah, and I thought the Oilers' effort was outstanding. You have a 3-1 lead after 40 evaporate. Next thing you know, you're down 5-4, and to grind out a goal to get it to overtime with Zach Kassian going to the front of the net. Yeah. I mean, the Oilers left it all out there. I mean, that's all you can do. And you have to acknowledge the skill and talent level of the Colorado Avalanche. They deserve to win this series, and congratulations to them as they go to the Stanley Cup final.
Gabriel Landeskog accepting the Clarence Campbell Trophy as the Western Conference champions here tonight at Rogers Place. Listen, this is something that I said coming into the series. Your best players have to be your best players. We'll get to the Oilers guys in just a few moments, but Nathan MacKinnon, Gene, proving time and time again that he is a playoff performer. Yeah,
I think there are players that have, Nathan's had good regular seasons. Sometimes he's been injured, but nothing Conor McDavid-like or Leon Draisaitl-like, for sure. And he might get there. I remember covering the 2013 Memorial Cup in the city you used to play in, and I remember Seth Jones was supposed to be the first overall pick, Cam, and Nathan had a tournament to end all tournaments, and guess who was chosen first overall? Yep. So this is part of his DNA, I think people would say, to have success in the playoffs. I remember when the bubble was here and they had pretty good run, but were falling short. And so I think Edmonton is sort of Colorado in the making, and I hope the Oilers would take that as a compliment. They also have star players. They have had their bumps in the road. Yep. For Colorado, it's been more of a second-round issue, Cam, than a first-round issue, but now they're into the 4th and final round, and I wait to see who Nathan MacKinnon and company will face in the Cup final.
And Cale Makar, what a series he had. Like, you talk about best players being best players for the Avalanche. I mean, Cale Makar was outstanding throughout this whole thing. It's amazing how little time it took him to go from university hockey to the NHL and be completely up to speed, like about 30 seconds.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Good to go.
Oh, you're about right.
Yeah.
What did Tyson Berry say? Hey, when I first saw him, he goes, I'm in trouble. Listen, I was looking, because of Cale's success, and by the way, his dad, Gary, is actually, big Oilers fan, who now obviously is a big Avalanche fan.
Of course.
2017 draft, Nico Hischier, not bad. Unfortunately, Nolan Patrick's had to deal with a number of injuries. Heiskanen from Dallas, and then Cale Makar.
Yeah.
Right? So I think you nailed it, Cam. What a study is on defense as
You
well.
guys talked about MacKinnon. You talked about Makar. 2 of the most entertaining players in the National Hockey League, but for whatever it's worth, the 2 best players were actually on the home side tonight, and that being Conor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. Listen, 7 points among 29 and 97. Let's begin with number 29 first, Cam.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely not at 100%. Takes a big hit in this game once again, was hobbled to the bench, spent a few minutes, and then came back on the power play and immediately recorded a primary assist. I mean, the will to win with this guy.
When he went into the corner, I was in my head, I'm like, well, that might be it. Like, that might be it for the night. And he comes back out in that power play. I think about the goal where he sets up Zach Hyman, where he just waits till the passing lane opens. And then, of course, it's right on the tape, because with Leon Draisaitl, it's always right on the tape. Forehand or backhand, doesn't matter. But just that extra half-second patience of a veteran, skilled player, and the lane opens up, it's right on the tape, Hyman goes in and scores. He had an amazing game. We know he's battling through some stuff, and just continues to produce numbers. Yeah. I mean, tonight was It was a grind. It was a tough game. There was hits both ways, and the Oilers were playing for their playoff lives. And I thought Leon Dreisseil, he left it all out there.
I would have to say, I don't know what, you're brought up with in Germany regarding sacrificing, playing through pain, understanding that you have to do things that maybe you're not even comfortable doing. You might not even want to do it, but you look around the room and you think, how can I not? Why would I not? And to me, Leon, he's like a thoroughbred, but I have so much respect for him because I can only imagine what his ankle would feel like after he got it twisted like a pretzel in that series versus LA. And every time he got hurt, it took him a little bit longer to get going, but he always came back. And I'm telling you what, if you're sitting on that bench, how are you not going to do that for your own personal performance and the team performance? So kudos to Leon Draisaitl playing through what he played through.
And also his partner in crime, Conor McDavid, somehow taking his game to another level throughout these playoffs, Cam. Gene talked about it. For the Avalanche, it was a process, right? For them, it was the second-round demons that they had to kind of slay, and now they're advancing to the Stanley Cup final. This is just a step in the right direction for the entire leadership core here for the Oilers.
Oh, for sure. And with Conor McDavid, and he's shown it all throughout his career. And then this year, just when you think you've got to the top floor, you find out there's another floor. Like that elevator's got another floor to go. It just keeps going up. And in the playoffs, you think of when they were in a bind against Los Angeles. Who stepped up. And against Calgary, their biggest rival, and a charged atmosphere, whether it was in Calgary or here in Edmonton, and who gets the overtime winner in Game 5. And, tonight, just inspirational play to try and will his team to a Game 5 of this series. It's just amazing. We're very fortunate to be able to watch this guy play, and none of that's ever lost on me.
Preaching to the converted, as three Edmonton guys.
Yes.
You're a little bit younger.
And from the south side. We're north side guys. Yeah.
2-1.
Yeah.
We will say this, that we grew up with the pleasure and privilege of watching, one of, if not the greatest team era. And so here we are, fast forward, and we get to do it again. And so that is something that as Oiler fans and broadcasters, we really got to be privileged and honored to have that. And if I'm Connor McDavid's family, I'm bursting with pride. And if I'm an Oiler fan, I'm doing the same thing, because not only has Connor found another floor, he has, I think, really developed as a leader. I'm not sure at 19 you slap a C on a guy's jersey and okay, take us to the cup. Let's go. Which way, right? But as he's developed now into a young man in his mid-20s, I really can kind of feel it, see it from him and his teammates that the C fits way more comfortably. I think he understands, as he's gone through his own disappointments from a team standpoint, what it takes to win. And unbelievable building blocks. It is disappointing to be swept out, but I honestly feel, as weird as this sounds, I feel like if Edmonton could have got past Colorado, I think they would have actually won the Stanley Cup. I think at that point, you wouldn't have stopped those two guys and everybody else. Someone might say, well, how did they win the Stanley Cup? They can't even beat Colorado. But I just felt like they were getting better and growing, and I think that New York or Tampa would have been in trouble if Edmonton had made it. They didn't, so now it's Colorado's turn to represent the West.
Listen, everyone in that Oilers dressing room would say that there are plenty of leaders, but if there was a leadership group built as a tripod, the third leg would be Darnell Nurse. Torn hip flexor, Gene. Can you?
No, I can't
imagine playing through that?
My back is sore. I take 2 Advils, and I feel like calling in sick. So just thinking of a hip flexor and then ripping it, and then playing against Nathan MacKinnon and Gabriel Landeskog and Mikko Rantanen and Cale Makar for 3 series. And Jay Woodcroft, you could tell it was getting worse because he hinted that they were not hinted, they were playing 7 defensemen. So I understand the fans get upset, and I get that because they love their team. So I would never want to harness that and then pull them back. But you have to understand that there's stuff going on. And I think, if you're an Oiler fan that's been after Darnell Nurse because you figure, how come he's not, I think after this you might go, you know what? I've learned to, A, maybe I shouldn't say so much, and B, respect for Darnell Nurse, because the idea, Cam, of playing through that, you've played injured before, that is unbelievable. Leon wouldn't say how bad his was, but torn hip flexor, that is something to me. I don't know what he was taking, but it worked enough for him to be a factor in these playoffs.
It would be difficult just to skate with that type of injury, and to skate at the highest level, the most intense games of the year would be unfathomable. But he gutted it out. There was a time in the game tonight where he blocked a shot and it had hobbled him, and he somehow made it to the bench and was right back out the next time. And it was a key block, and he had to throw his feet in front of that. And it's amazing. Yeah, Darnell Nurse, again, you know, they talked about these guys being warriors and doing whatever it took. And you're right. It's tough, and when you're playing defense, I mean, you can get away with more up front, but on defense, if a mistake's made or whatever, it's usually pretty glaring, and it results at the very least a good opportunity the other way. And Darnell had to go through played through some real tough things here in the playoffs. Good on him, because that would have been really tough to do.